A huge thank you to Ramsey McCarthy for his support on Patreon. Yawgmoth Thran Physician versus Scion of the Dragon, Seshiro the Anointed, and Extus Oriq Overlord. One lander for us. We are never going to keep a one lander, so we mulligan into a two lander with some card draw, a bit of ramp. We will keep that one. A turn 1 play in Mold Adder from Minds G4, patron to the channel, otherwise known as Shuffles. And we are playing with Billy Kills as well, who has brought us Extus. Big thank you to those two for supporting the channel and playing today. Get down a land and pass. Then a Steely Resolve, so this must be Snake Tribal if you're running Steely Resolve. And that swung in towards the 5 colour Dragons player. Then a Celestia Signet for the 5 colour player. We get into Reliquary Tower. I think we just want to up our swamp count as much as we can. Don't want to end up discarding anything thanks to Night's Whisper, because we'll end up with 8 cards in hand there, so we'll go for the Lightning Greaves. Another snake in Orochi Sustainer, and this time sending us down to 38. And more ramp in Ataka Monument, so only 1 colour away from their 5 colour commander, but managing to play in a land, still 5 cards in hand, so they've got all the mana they need to get down their Scion of the Dragon. And there's another land for us, that's really good, so we can go for Phyrexian Altar, just for the sake of having a sack outlet. We are very combo heavy in this deck. Butcher Ghoul is another combo piece. How about we just go Reliquary Tower and then we don't have to worry about discarding cards. We'll be back to 7 if we go Night's Whisper here. Yeah, let's just go for the Night's Whisper. A plus counter goes on the Mold Adder, which cares about casting blue and black spells. Okay, and we've got a Mana Rock there, so that will do us for the turn. First spell of the game from Billy Kills is Recruiter of the Guard. Search for a creature with toughness 2 or less. A Ground Seal from the Snakes player. And this time the Snake goes in towards Billy Kills, who has a 1/1 to throw in the way. He searched for Sedgemoor Witch, by the way. That's a scary one. Not going for their commander yet. Instead going for Dragon Tempest first. And furthering the ramp, Orzhov Signet. Now round to our turn. I think it would be a good time to go for the Crypt Gas, then we can ramp a little bit. And that will allow us to go for the tap land in Bojuka Bog. Don't feel too bad about playing a tap land if we've got a bunch of double mana. We'll swing that in at the Dragons player because they need as much damage dealt to them as possible before they start wheeling dragons into play. Interestingly, Billy Kills passes through the turn without the Sedgemoor Witch coming into play. Now Green Sun Zenith, where X is 2. Struggling on land drops over there. Probably goes for Sakura Tribelder, I would think. And yep, goes for Sakura Tribelder to help make the land drops there. And now a 3/3 swinging in towards the Dragons player as well. Everyone worried about the haste, I imagine. Well, here comes Scion of the Dragon, and they have the 2 mana for that. So they can search for a Dragon Permanent, put it into their graveyard, and have it become a copy of that. Dealing the damage to the Recruiter of the Guard. And they searched up Dramoka, the Eternal, so whenever it attacks, bolster 2. Gonna try and pile up a bunch of counters on that and do commander damage, which they will be able to do to one player within 2 turns, or 2 additional turns, going after the Snake player. Now then, we get Sengir Autocrat. I think it will be Sengir Autocrat and Coalition Relic this turn. Yeah, I think that will be fine. And then it might be a little bit early on the Bojuka Bog, but we'll get it in just because we'll want all the mana we can get this game, I imagine. Exiling the Dramoka from the Dragon player. And Aristocrat for Billy Kills in Cruel Celebrant. Now round to the Snake player. They've cracked the Sakura Tribelder, swinging this in at the Dragon player for 6 damage. And they've played the Orochi Egg Watcher. And Scion of the Dragon, let's see if they can knock a player out here. Activating the Scion. Now turning him into Intet the Dreamer, and that is the one where for 3 mana, exile the top card face down. You can look at it and play it for as long as it remains exiled. Now playing a Manalith with 4 cards left in hand. And now it looks as though we are going to eat some commander damage. I'm not sure if they are going to give it double strike or anything. We need to think about getting into some removal, really. Well, they only hit us once, thankfully, so triggering the Intet the Dreamer. Excellent. Now a Crackling Doom. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with the greatest power. So do we want to lose all of our tokens, or do we want to lose our mana? I think we have to give up on the tokens, unfortunately. But then, a Rise of the Dreadmarn from Billy Kills. I've got that in this deck. I've actually made some changes to this deck. Haven't managed to play with Rise of the Dreadmarn yet, but I am looking forward to it. So he ends up with some 2/2 zombies. And the Crackling Doom did come from over here, by the way, from the Intet play. So there is a Thespian Stage, not getting into any removal. I was hoping that we could have drawn some removal with the Yawgmoth and the tokens. So I think pretty much all we can do is go for Yawgmoth here and hope that we're able to do something within the next turn or two. I will Extort on this one. And we'll go for the Vindictive Vampire just because it's 4 mana. So it is a lot to cast that one. And we'll Extort there as well. Then I'm going to risk losing the Cryptghast. We can sacrifice it in response with Yawgmoth to get around exile and stuff, so might be able to reanimate it later, but I think the Yawgmoth is... yeah, I think that's the most important thing to protect at the moment. Let's swing in at the Dragon player. I was trying to not make an enemy out of the Dragon player, but looks like they're swinging in towards us anyway. Now all of the zombies being sacrificed, and it looks like they're going for the backside of their commander. That is Awaken the Blood Avatar. So I'm actually fine with this because it gets rid of our opponent's commander. We will get rid of our Vindictive Vampire. And then the swing is coming in at us. That is 3 damage to each opponent, and then we are going to take 3 damage from the Avatar as well. Then at the end of the turn, an Ambush Viper coming into play. Flash and Death Touch. And then we'll go over to the Snake player's turn. And the commander comes down here as well. Seshiro, the Anointed. Giving other snakes +2/+2 and gives them the ability to draw as well. So swinging in towards Billy Kills, everyone being dealt damage. Now they can get down their commander again, but I think they're going to be 1 mana shy of going for the activation, so we might not see it here. They do have 5 cards in hand though. No, they do go for their Scion of the Ur-Dragon. And dealing the 1 damage straight to the Snake player. Okay, Zulaport Cutthroat. We're getting pretty close to being able to assemble a combo here. We just need a means of a creature that can make tokens, really. So why don't we get down this Phyrexian Altar. And we will lean heavily into the Extort because it does gain us a nice chunk of life. We'll throw down the Zulaport Cutthroat as well. Worst case scenario, we just have to sacrifice some of these things to draw cards. In fact, we could just do that now. Just for the sake of having another body in play. Yeah, let's go for the Butcher Ghoul. I don't really like showing my opponent all these combo pieces, but it's all just chump blockers and fodder for the Yawgmoth to help refill our hand. And then we'll charge counter on the Coalition Relic, hold on to the Exsanguinate. Cabal Coffers from the Mardu player. Looks like he's struggling on mana, unfortunately, but if we get into an Urborg, or the 5-colour player gets into an Urborg, that'll fix their Cabal Coffers at least. And there is a Toxic Deluge, so yeah, I'm glad I got the creatures out when I did now. Yeah, we're just refilling our hand then. We'll put some minuses on the Avatar because that will survive this Toxic Deluge. Getting to a Toxic Deluge of our own. And we were only a few turns away as well. Well, 3 turns away I suppose, so still a million miles away, but we could have had a combo sometime soon. Sekiko, Mother of Summer this time. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, add that much green. And you don't lose it until the end of the turn. Now a Mardu Dragon, Oros the Avenger. And with that one you can pay 3 and it deals 3 damage to each non-white creature. We want rid of that one, definitely. Surprisingly, dealing the damage to the Snake player. They seem to be very focused on the Snake player while we are at 32 life. And yeah, seeing our life total there, knocking us down to 26. Now then, we've got the Baleful Mastery. Do we want to get our commander into play? Our commander can survive this. And we've got the Lightning Greaves to protect it. I think we have to go for our commander here because it does cost 6. That's a lot of mana to dump into it. And then we can hold up the Baleful Mastery and go for that onto here if we want to, or onto our opponent's commander. Yeah, so losing out to the board wipe there. Alright, so we're at a decent life total. I think people are going to swing in at us, but I'll hope that the Mardu player doesn't have any big hasty stuff due to kills having a lack of mana. We'll chip away for 2 at the dragon player. There we go, finally seeing the Sedgemoor Witch from our opponent. And it looks as though everyone's looking to get rid of the dragon player now before he becomes too much of a threat. The 3 damage from the snake going in towards the dragon player. And ends up dumping a bunch of mana into getting Seshiro back into play. They got 3 mana from the Sakiko, don't forget. And now a Burgeoning with 3 cards in hand. And they cast their Scion of the Ur-Dragon for what I think is a 3rd time. They're tapped out now. They'll be able to get rid of the Sedgemoor Witch when that comes into play, thanks to the enchantment. But instead pointing the damage at us, so that will knock us down to 24. And deciding not to swing in at all. So, do we use the Baleful Mastery or not? I think we keep holding on to it. I suppose we could always go Exsanguinate this turn to get rid of the dragon player if we don't draw into anything else that we care about. Yeah, Jet Medallion isn't incredible. We've had everything we've needed this game, it's just we didn't draw into it quite quickly enough. Not in time to dodge the board wipe anyway, some kind of mass recursion would be good. Anyway, we play a land, triggering the Burgeoning from the snake player. But they don't have a land to make. Yeah, it feels bad to end the game with Exsanguinate. This is in here for when we're desperate, but we're against Billy Kills not doing so well and arguably a janky snake deck, so I don't really want to go for the win with Exsanguinate. I don't mind knocking a player out with it though. So X is 7. We'll gain a nice chunk of life here, and like I said, take out the dragon player as well. So down goes the dragon player, and our opponents are at a decent life total for us to potentially do something here. We'll buy ourselves a little bit of time, although I'm sure it's turned into a 2v1 at this point. The damage has been spread fairly evenly up until this point. We're not going to block the snakes, and they are going to come in at us, so let's deal some damage to Billy Kills while we can. I don't mind. He either takes the damage or he blocks, and I don't mind either scenario. They decide to just take it and go down to 9. Finally managing to get into his 4th piece of mana. And there is a Smothering Tithe, so we'll see if that is too little too late or not. They are going to draw additional cards over here with the Seshiro. So I wonder if the snake player wants to gang up, or if he wants to get rid of Billy Kills before he goes crazy with this thing. We'll see what decision Shuffles makes. Well, assuming that they're going to team up, the 3-2 swings in towards us. And yeah, they are teaming up, so the 2 snakes swing in towards us. They're gonna make a nice chunk of mana this turn, as well as draw their way up to 6 cards in hand. Sakiko and Seshiro working very nicely together. Playing a snake basket, create X snake tokens, but you can only do it as a sorcery. Now a Reap and Sow, destroy a land, and search for a land. And they ended up destroying our Thespian Stage. That's really in here to make a copy of Cabal Coffers. If we had a bunch of cards in hand that we could have comboed off with, we would have copied the Cabal Coffers, but it would have ended up destroyed there anyway, so not too worried about that. A Mosswort Bridge is the card that they searched for. And then tapping a lot of mana into Snake Basket, which makes a bunch of 3-3 Shroudy Snakes. 3 cards left in hand over there, so we're probably going to have to go Toxic Deluge, unfortunately. Alright, and just as I mentioned, Cabal Coffers, we get into Cabal Stronghold. We can't afford to cast our Yawgmoth. Even if we sacrifice it with Phyrexian Arena, we can't afford to cast it and wipe the board, so yeah, we'll pay for the Tithe here. So let's get down the Stronghold. And our opponent did have a land, so they've gone down to 2 in hand from the Burgeoning. Let's swing in to Billy Kills, take him down to 7. Okay, tapped some white mana there, so I don't know if he had like Oust or something like that, or Swords Path. Yeah, maybe forgetting about the Shroud there. He did tap some white mana regardless. Maybe he just had a means of making some instant speed chump blockers and assumes that we're going to wipe the board here. Alright, so we might as well sacrifice our Yawgmoth to the Phyrexian altar. And then we can go for Toxic Deluge. We will make it... It only has to be 4. This has 5 toughness, but it will lose a buff from this leaving, so it only has to be 4 in this instance. And that lands, that's really good, so we might as well get down the Pawn of Ulamog here. And we'll protect that with the Lightning Greaves and pass. And secure the waste from kills, make some tokens ready for getting out their commander again. So that might have been what they were considering going for in response to the Yawgmoth to not take the 2 damage, but they correctly assumed that we were going to go for some kind of a board wipe. Awaken the Blood Avatar forces us to sacrifice Pawn of Ulamog. And the beauty of this thing being in play is that if they want to deal damage to us, then they have to turn it sideways and deal damage to Shuffles as well. And because of that, deciding to just leave it untapped. Okay, 2 cards in hand, and just deciding to go for his Seshiro again. So it doesn't look like we have much of anything going on between all of us. An Expedition map might be Cabal Coffers, that will be 3 mana. Get the Cabal Coffers into play, tap it down, gets us 4 mana. 5, 6, 7 and 8. So not going to play for the Smothering Tithe trigger here. Might be that our opponent can get rid of our Yawgmoth as soon as we get it into play. But we'll force them to use it at the very least. So we'll play out the Expedition map here. And crack that straight away. Get ourselves into a Cabal Coffers. Could go for Volrath Stronghold, but it's going to be way too slow getting things like this on top of our library. We'd want to put like a Villis or something like that on top that we can just slam down and make use of immediately. So go for Cabal Coffers into play. Oh, and of course, forgetting about the Jet Medallion again, our commander costs 1 less mana. So our opponent did not have any spot removal that they wanted to use on the Yawgmoth at least. So we could do Baleful Mastery for 1 mana. And have someone draw a card with the Coalition Relic, so... yeah, we'll just have to pass at that. Stormkiln Artist for Billy Kills. A Swiftfoot Boots to start things off. Still 2 cards in hand over there, but just leaving it there, seemingly. Okay, a Reanimate for us. I'm not entirely sure there's much of anything we can do with a Reanimate. Reanimate onto Sengir Autocrat's pretty good. Yeah, I'm not going to... yeah, we've got a decent amount of mana. I'm going to pay for the Smothering Tithe trigger here. Oh, but of course, I was just tapping down the Cabal Stronghold. Reanimate doesn't work because of the Ground Seal. Ugh, that's rough. Yeah, we might have been able to get back into the game there. Looks like we might have to just pass the turn back round then. We're all at a stalemate, just in top deck mode, seemingly. Alright, the first trigger from the Stormkiln Artist, and it is Idyllic Tutor from Kills. And then an Outlaw's Merriment, is that the one? Yep, that's the one that they tutored for. So they'll get random tokens from now on. Which snake is this? Matsu Tribe Decoy. Target creature has to block it if able. It deals combat damage to a creature. Tap it and it doesn't untap during its next untap step. That's a very blue ability. Just recorded a little video about Colour Pie breaks, so that reminds me of that immediately. Alright, and it's just another swamp. I'm really trying to be patient here and not sacrifice this Eldrazi spawn. But it's very tempting to at this point. I don't know if I didn't even do the Coalition Relic. I've kind of switched off at this point. Yeah, so we're just still in exactly the same position. We can at least, at the end of the Snake player's turn, sacrifice the Eldrazi to get rid of a token here, potentially, assuming they don't get the 1-2. But of course, they do end up with the 1-2. 1 damage to any target, so... I mean... if we put 0 damage onto it, or 0 on its power, which we will with a -1 counter, then it's effectively useless. They can chump block with it still, but yeah, they're going to force us to do it, so might as well go like that. I suppose we could have put one on here so that if we get into another creature, then we can get rid of that, because I am scared of Stormkiln Artist. Anyway, we did draw another card there, so let's tap some mana like that into the Smothering Tithe. No reason not to pay it. Sifter of Skulls, another combo piece. Whoa, there's an Underworld Breach. So I wonder if maybe we should have got rid of the Stormkiln in response to that. They don't have too many cards in the graveyard, 10. And I think they only have to exile 3. Yeah, so they've got until the end of the turn to do something here. And that is Idyllic Tutor. I'm not sure of the combos, that's the problem. And they went for Anointed Procession, which does double up the treasure tokens as well. And now Cruel Celebrant. Yeah, that is their Aristocrat effect that they're going to use to gain life. They don't have a sack outlet. Maybe it's the Cruel Celebrant we need to get rid of. So the Underworld Breach, not managing to allow them to combo off or anything, but they do get some decent effects there from it in their Aristocrat effect, and the Anointed Procession, which I'm sure will come down next turn. Aurum Viper is yet more card draw. Now going through to combat, I dare say both of these are going to swing in at us. No, going in towards the Mardu player. This is going to allow them to start gaining life potentially, although they can make the Cruel Celebrant block, and they are doing. That's really good. That saves our Baleful Mastery. So the Cruel Celebrant still dies and triggers, but it will only gain them 1 life, so they're still very much teetering on the edge. Not a land off the top this next turn, please. Okay, Ophiomancer's actually really good. That is going to keep us in cards. So we will pay for the Smothering Tithe, and then get 5 mana from the Cabal Stronghold, so we'll go for Ophiomancer. And then I think it's time to go Sifter of Skulls as well, and we'll start trying to dump threats onto the board. And I keep forgetting about the Jet Medallion, I'm tapping too much mana. Yeah, I've made that mistake a few times now. We can still go Baleful Mastery for 3 mana. Yeah, so the plan is to draw extra cards with Ophiomancer this turn. So both of us getting a token. Yeah, it's only 1 damage. And then there's Lifelink and Trample on the other tokens, so we don't have to worry about losing our Ophiomancer, not to the enchantment anyway. And they are going to have the Pinger come into play again, so that will go on to the Snake, I would imagine. Nope, it goes on to us. We can just sacrifice the Snake anyway, so they clearly don't want to encourage us to do that. Yeah, there's the Anointed Procession, just 1 mana being held up, and it is white mana. But deciding to just tap out shows us that he doesn't have it, so Kills is looking to move the game along as well by the looks of it. So at the end of the turn we will sacrifice the Snake, because we'll get 1 back during every upkeep. And I'm going to point it at the Stormkiln, because we'll be able to get rid of that at the end of the Snake player's turn. Alright, Necropotent, so maybe we'll be able to start getting this game going. We'll give our opponent... Yeah, we'll give him a treasure token. I'd rather give someone a little bit of extra mana than card draw at this point. I still want to hold up the 3 mana for the Baleful Mastery. Yeah, so I assume that we're going to be forced to block with something here. I'm just curious to see what they want us to block with. Yeah, trying to get rid of the Ophiomancer. They could do this with multiple creatures. I'm going to wait for them to actually tap out into this potentially, because they could do it with multiple creatures, I think. Yeah, but deciding not to, seemingly. Why don't we just block with the Snake Death Toucher as well, then? It's funny, actually. Our Snake has Death Touch as well, because this affects all the creatures on the board with the chosen type. So we block like that and that to get rid of that thing. And then we'll finish off the Dwarf before the Ophiomancer goes down to combat. It's going to die here anyway, so we might as well. We do get an Eldrazi Scion token, thanks to the Sifter of Skulls. And then we might as well pay for the Tithe trigger this time. Draw into another land to make the Stronghold and Coffers better. And then a doubling season, yeah. Mono black player against a bunch of enchantments is... yeah, it's not the best position for us to be in. We really need to be comboing out soon. Okay, an Ancient Tomb. We're just going for the Swamp this turn. Let's put mana into the Tithe. They do get 2 tokens per Tithe trigger now, so we want to be paying for that at this point, especially if we're just slamming down the Necropotents. So we play the Swamp, we've got a black mana from the Relic, let's go Necropotents. And we're probably just dumping a bunch of life into this at this point so that we can try and combo out next turn. Okay, so I've decided to go down to 10. I think that's around 14, 15 cards, something like that. We won't have to discard thanks to the Tower. And it allows us some activations with Yawgmoth. A little bit of damage from the Avatar, maybe. They might get down... They might get down another Avatar next turn. I'm not sure how much their commander costs, though. They've done it twice. So that would be 12. So I think going for the Baleful Mastery now onto this would be a good idea. Just so that they've got less sack fodder. I don't know if I worked that out right, but hey, we'll see. It's no guts, no glory at this point. Well, just a bunch of mana so far. Skullclamp and Reassembling Skeleton isn't too bad. Maybe we'll be able to get the achievement unlocked and go for Signing Blood, finishing someone off. Okay, Damnation if we're desperate. Animate Dead we can't use. Yeah, not too much going on there in all honesty. This time getting the 2-1 Clerics with Haste and Lifelink, which I'm sure they'll be glad to turn sideways. Damnation gets rid of everything. Maybe they go for Teferi's Protection in response to that. Either way, we are losing our creatures. Now, we can sacrifice the creatures in response. They might have Teferi's Protection, but there's nothing we can do about that. We can't target the snakes. So, yeah, we'll just get rid of the lifelinkers. Yep, and there it is, Teferi's Protection. So, we go for... I mean, we can still get rid of one of the lifelinkers at least. And at least they can't attack us this turn. I think we need to get rid of the lifelinker more than anything else. It has more power and it has lifelink. So it's worth the life here. And we are going to pay for the Smothering Tithe triggers, so I'll tap down the Cabal Coffers. So the Smothering Tithe resolves. And our draw fizzles because we don't have a legal target for the Yawgmoth anymore. That is something that you have to look out for. And now maybe with haste they'll be able to get down some kind of big snake, but I think they're in top deck mode just the same as us. Wow, okay, and the snake player doesn't have anything with those 2 cards in hand. I'm curious to see which 2 cards are in hand there. Maybe he's just holding on to lands in order to try and make us worry. And it's time to see if we can do anything. Let's go Sol Ring. We'll go for the Deserted Temple as well, so that we can untap the Cabal Coffers. Then make a bunch of mana with Cabal Coffers. Untap the Cabal Coffers. Then we might as well go Reassembling Skeleton. If we don't combo out here, then we're not going to. Play the Clamp. Clamp the Skeleton. And we just draw into lands. That's not good. We, way too late, get Rise of the Dreadman. So let's go for Reassembling Skeleton and Skullclamp a few more times. If we feel as though we're not going to get into anything, then we're probably done for anyhow, but we might have to just sit on the Villis. Okay, there's another combo piece in Nether Traitor. Might as well get that into the bin, I suppose. Yeah, if it's 2 mana to go for Reassembling Skeleton and 2 mana for this. I mean, there's an argument to be made for us playing around Graveyard Exile, but we'll just go for that. Maybe we've got enough for a combo, actually. If we go Reanimate and the Animate Dead... Oh, what do we need then? We could go for Pawn of Ulamog and the Zulaport Cutthroat, and then that might be enough. Yeah, with the Nether Traitor it might be. If we sacrifice this to the Phyrexian Altar, that'd be a black mana, and then that would trigger the Pawn of Ulamog. Yeah, let's try this. Go for the Meteor Golem onto the Ground Seal. Then it's Reanimate on Zulaport Cutthroat. The green player could have enchantment removal, so this still might not work, but we'll go for Animate Dead. And that can be a Pawn of Ulamog. And then we'll sacrifice the Nether Traitor for black mana. That triggers the Zulaport Cutthroat and the Pawn of Ulamog, and we should be able to go infinite here, I would hope. Sacrifice the token that's generated, and that gets the Nether Traitor back into play. We've got the black mana from the Phyrexian Altar. We'll have to do this during Billy Kill's upkeep as well and hope that he doesn't have anything. In fact, just for the sake of saving time, because we're just making our opponent sit through it twice, we'll use this 2 mana, we'll go for the Reassembling Skeleton out of the bin, and then we'll go over to Billy Kill's upkeep and we'll hope that he doesn't have a means of interacting with this. What I would do, if we could just do it quickly, is get rid of the green player. So in response to that, we'll start doing it again during Billy Kill's upkeep, and they are going to try something in response here. That is an Anguished Unmaking. We can do all this at instant speed, so let's just go for sacrificing the Reassembling Skeleton, and that will bring back the Nether Traitor into play. So managing to take down the green player here, and a couple more deaths and Billy Kills should be done as well. So there we are, managing to take them out with the combo eventually there. Really hampered by the ground seal for the majority of the game. We had reanimation in our hand, but couldn't go for it to get back into the game more quickly than that. Luckily, the Necropotence got us back into it eventually. Big thank you to Shuffles and Billy Kills for playing that one out. That was a long grindy one because we were all in top deck mode for so long. Big thank you to you all for watching as well. You can support on Patreon as well through the link in the description below. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.